Very good. Thanks for coming back from lunch on time, those of you that have. I'm delighted to be here on the stage with Keith Jefferis. Keith is the managing director of econsult, but previously was deputy governor of the Bank of Botswana, senior advisor in the Ministry of Finance to the Minister of Finance, and has an extraordinarily deep knowledge over 35 years of this economy. But now he's independent. We can ask him the questions that we know we'll get the straight, not government response from. So I very much look forward to this brief 10 minutes that we'll have together. Let's begin, Keith, with really, is Botswana the miracle it seems to be? It's had robust growth. It seems quite resilient. Its income is extraordinarily high by African standards, and the prospects look remarkably good. This is all real?
Yeah, I think it's real. So to summarize Botswana's experience, particularly to people who don't know it very well, I use the phrase well-managed good luck. So the good luck was having these huge diamond deposits, which could be mined at low cost. But of course, many countries have been in similar situations and have messed up big time. And Botswana didn't mess up and has actually managed those diamond deposits and the revenues and the spending and the macroeconomic policy along with it, and has managed that really well. So that's how you get these relatively high growth rates over a long period of time, and reaching upper middle income status, low public debt, reasonably good public finances, good external account, foreign exchange reserves. So yes, it's true, but there's a but, of course, and the but is, that momentum has kept Botswana going for most of the post-independence period, so 50 years, but it can't, so it's a growth model based around diamonds and government, and that can't continue forever. So, the but is some very big structural changes and shifts in growth drivers are necessary, and that's quite challenging.
Yeah, no but on the governance, though. That needs to remain. So when economists like us look at these economies that are highly dependent on one resource, in the case of Botswana, diamonds, we think of what's called the resource curse, where either corruption or overvalued exchange rates crowd out other activities, and many countries with wonderful resources are in a dismal state. If not the most dismal state in Africa. So what accounts for Botswana bucking the resource curse?
Well, I think it's been good policy making. So the two institutions that I've worked for in the public sector, the Bank of Botswana and the Ministry of Finance, have been very strong, quite independent and not sort of subject to political manipulation. Good quality people and analysis leading to policies that have been pretty consistent over time, so not a lot of chopping and changing, and have in many ways managed to avoid the resource curse. So exchange rate policy has by and large avoided overvaluation, and balance of payment surpluses have been accumulated as large foreign exchange reserves rather than an overvalued exchange rate. So I think there's just generally been good quality policy making, and that's been generally supported from the top. So I think that's helped. That's been the main reason.
And presumably as well, transparency, rule of law, and all the other things that stop corruption taking root.
Yeah, that all helps. That's all been integral to the whole thing.
So, fantastic foundation. Looking forward, you indicate that this can't go on. It also creates instability, dependence on one commodity. What major structural changes need to happen?
Yeah, so I think the key requirements are that exports become more diversified, because at the moment 80% of exports come from diamonds. Then you've got some other minerals, some manufacturers and services like tourism make up the other 20%. And that's not a sustainable position, partly because eventually the diamonds will run out. We reckon there's about 30 years left at current rates of production. But even if they don't run out, diamond production is not growing, so it's not a growth driver for the economy. So the critical thing is that exports must become more diversified, and that means a much greater focus on competitiveness, productivity, FDI, and one of the things with diamond mining is that because Botswana's had these very low-cost, large deposits, it's been easy to be competitive. But when you're producing almost anything else, particularly manufactured goods and services, competitiveness is critical. And so I think that needs to figure much more strongly in what government does, and the private sector, of course.
So the exceptionalism of the past needs to be examined, and presumably what remains as an exceptional thing is the wonderful country in terms of its natural resources, tourism potential, and broader potential. One thing that's very striking about Botswana that isn't at the top of the league in a good way is, of course, inequality remains quite high, and I presume part of this diversification strategy is to spread jobs and employment and wealth more broadly.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Inequality is a big problem. And so one of the downsides, if you like, of the diamond-led growth, diamond mining is very capital intensive, so it hasn't led to a lot of direct job creation. So, yeah, dealing with inequality, it's all about jobs. Everything's about jobs. So anyway, one of the interesting things that's happened in recent years is that there's now quite a lot of downstream processing of diamonds through cutting and polishing. And now there's as many people employed in cutting and polishing as there are in diamond mining. So it's, that's an illustration of what can be done. But yeah, we need to, that export diversification is inevitably going to be much more labor intensive than diamond mining. And so in terms of the direct exports and the supply chains, they're getting a healthy rate of job creation is absolutely critical.
It's a remarkable story, the value added in the diamond industry to create processing of diamonds and creation even of jewelry, which will make a big difference. Those of us that are enthusiastic about travel and tourism always point to the fact that it's the largest generator of jobs, particularly jobs of people on low income, and also very gender diverse in terms of its employment. Do you see the potential of travel and tourism in the same way?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, it is relatively labor intensive. As you say, it's also gender diverse, and it also creates jobs in areas which often don't have any other jobs. So if you look in, rural Botswana, there are three sources of jobs. One is cattle rearing, the other is government, public services, and the third is tourism. And I think in terms of sustainable jobs with growth potential, tourism is the biggest. So it's really important from a job creation point of view.
And also employs a lot of young people, which is it seems to be high levels of youth unemployment.
Yeah, that's quite right.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a conference dedicated to investment opportunities in the travel and tourism area. What would you say to the potential investors in the room why they should invest in Botswana now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities, and hopefully some of the project discussions will lead to some real opportunities. But it's a place where it's quite stable. The macroeconomy is in good shape. We have no foreign exchange controls, so money can come in and out without any undue restrictions, other than the normal sort of anti-money laundering checks. We do have rule of law. Government is sometimes efficient, sometimes not so efficient, but you can get stuff done. And I think the whole rule of law is quite important in terms of being a place where if you have a contract, it's likely to be enforceable. So the macroeconomic conditions are quite good. Our interest rates are relatively low, especially in a world where interest rates have been going up. Currency is stable. It's a managed exchange rate, pegged to a basket. So I think in terms of those high-level aspects, it's a pretty good place to invest.
Great. Well, you've heard it from a truly independent expert as to why you should invest, that this is a good place to invest, and I hope you do. Thanks so much, Keith, for joining us, and look forward to the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks very much.